Hi, this is Garrett Ruffner, the president of Add2 Houston, and today for Add2 Live, we'll be interviewing Brittany Wegner with the Black Sheep Agency. Brittany, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, so my name is Brittany Wegner. I'm the digital content strategist for the Black Sheep Agency in Houston, Texas. We really specialize on activating people around things that matter and really creating a rally cry for impact. We believe in the power of collaboration because we are a small but mighty agency. So it's really cool to be a part of the Black Sheep Agency and the communities that we serve because we live and work here too. Just for some background on the Black Sheep Agency, we work with civic entities like the White House. Some of you might have seen our Better Make Room work. We're really proud of it. Nonprofits like Neighborhood Centers or Vecino Health in Houston. And for-profit companies with strong give back programs like NRG and Reliant or Forney Construction. And that's who we are.
And what is your role at the Black Sheep Agency?
Digital content strategist. I work a lot on the social side, or the social and digital side for our clients, working with them to build strong strategies for social media that also carries over to the digital sphere, helping them to think about, to encourage individual thinking for the client themselves, and to create campaigns that drive home, their own messaging and their own mission, trying to help them find ways to make impact through social media.
Cool, very cool. So what kind of tools or things that professionals in your niche of the industry use to be successful?
We use a lot of tools, and sometimes we say we don't want to use any tools. As far as like scheduling goes, build like those global content calendars that help us really see everything from a holistic perspective. I love using Percolate, and then I just recently started using Hey Orca, which is a smaller known company, but their platform is absolutely incredibly insightful as far as the user interface is concerned. We also use Sprout Social in-house, which gives us a lot of really great reporting and analytics. And then Hootsuite, because we all know that Instagram does not necessarily let you do all the smart scheduling, but Hootsuite helps support some of the timing that we need to have for campaigns. We use a lot of I know it sounds kind of weird because we have all these different tools, but I actually love using the native platforms for a lot of our measurement. They are literally telling you the numbers that come from their platforms. So sometimes one of the challenges that we have is some of the inconsistencies when we use external tools or platforms or resources. So we go straight to the source and look at the Twitter backend, look at Facebook backend, try to pull as much as we can. The other tool, I don't really know if you consider it a tool that I use, but I use it as a reference daily. HubSpot has tons and tons of free research and resources that help me literally on the daily try to make sure that I'm staying up to date on trends, and I am keeping our team internally and our clients externally in the know about the best and most efficient ways to use digital and social resources.
Okay. How'd you learn how to do all this stuff? Was it self-taught, or you learned it through an agency or classes?
Okay, fun fact. I started working, I went to Texas A&M, class of 2013, whoop. And we were the first, actually, I think it was my junior year, I took a summer class. It was a pilot class called Social Media, I think, in Business. And it was the first time they had run it. They kind of experimented with some of the internal programs that Texas A&M had, and some of the scholarship programs, and then some of the external partnerships that the university had, and said, hey, why don't we try to pilot this class where we teach students about all the tools that are out there currently. So this would have been in 2012, I guess, or 2011, and build content calendars for 4 months. So we had to talk to real people and say, how can we help you? What are your goals? Program, what can we do to try to drive impact for you? And we're students at the time, and it's a summer class, so everything is fast and furious. I still remember some of the content that I had to build, and still remember sitting there at midnight looking at this Excel spreadsheet going, what in the hell am I doing? And it kind of translated for me into the real world and where I was working at the time. And it was for small businesses. When you're in college, you a lot of times work for small businesses. They were like, hey, we really need to get on this social media bandwagon. And I was like, yeah, you do. So it kind of became something that I did on the side. And then more people asked me, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you give us some advice on this? And how do you generate content? And how do you know when to post? How do you know what platforms are best for you? And you kind of learn along the way with them. And then all of a sudden, people think that you're this great resource. And so you make yourself for me, it was a personally driven goal for me to be a great resource for people. When I graduated, I kind of did the same thing for a recruiting company, and then I worked for a crisis communication and public affairs firm, where we worked a lot with larger brands and smaller companies on how to use social media when you have a lot of barriers to work with. So you kind of get to play devil's advocate on social media, and it gives you a different perspective. And now that I work for the Black Sheep Agency, I do a million different things at once, and I still learn a lot every single day. So I guess to answer your question, I'm very long-winded, sorry. I think just through using it and trying to become a resource for people, getting my hands dirty in it every single day, and really making it a goal for myself to find those great resources for myself, and to continue to learn and continue to stay on trend. And I learn from the people that I work with every single day. I've learned more about Pokemon Go from our digital strategist recently than I ever thought I would in my entire life. So it's about people that you surround yourself with, I think, too.
So the landscape's changed a lot. The social landscape and sphere has changed a lot since you started.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I was trying to think earlier about like the biggest change. I mean, Twitter now obviously has moments and news, and you get a lot more from the feed. And back then, Twitter was like, everybody had to be on Twitter, and Facebook's people are still trying to figure out. I think even then, like Pinterest was when it was up and coming, and everyone was trying to figure out how to use it, and I was trying to figure out how to not use it when I'm supposed to be paying attention in class. It was definitely a time sucker at the time. I mean, Instagram was a baby in its infancy. It's become a huge empire. So it's definitely shifted and definitely changed. I think from an agency perspective, where it has changed the most and where we've tried to work with some of our clients in the social space that are trying to be innovative is that social from kind of like a B2B, even B2C perspective has gone from let's offer you what we can in the customer service space on social media, and let's give you another channel to communicate, to now we're trying to portray culture, and we're trying to give transparency. So it's definitely a battle worth fighting, and something that we found has become really successful, and a huge goal for corporations who used to think that social media shouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's cool. So what about things like Snapchat coming up? And I know people kind of thought that was going to die off, and it's defied the odds and stuck around. What kind of insights can you give us for companies using and brands using Snapchat?
So we're currently advocating for a few of our clients to start thinking on the process. And it seems to be a trend that the larger the company or the larger the corporation, the more barriers that you have to work through, especially in thinking about transparency. So we're constantly trying to push the envelope and trying to push really, in an essence, real-time marketing. and showing the value that it gives on, from the outside, from a consumer's perspective, or even the B2B sphere. It's like, hey, this is our company culture. This is who we stand for. This is our motive of transparency. This is how we can connect with you as a community, and these are the things that we're doing. This is how we're supporting you, and this is who we are. So for one of our brands, we say the peek behind the curtain. It's Texans Power and Texans in this specific area. So I'm definitely an advocate for brands using Snapchat. I do think that it does still require a strategy, and it requires a voice and a perspective. One of the brands that I follow currently that does a really good job of it is This Is Ground. It's a leather company, and if anybody knows anything about me, they know that I love them, and I follow them on social media, and they've been doing some really innovative stuff from the very beginning. And they were able to show me as a consumer what they do, what their internal space looks like, and how they interact with each other, and what their processes are. So it kind of it increases your brand loyalty, I think, more than anything.
So could you talk a little bit about real-time marketing and channel exploration among your clients?
Yeah. So again, it's a big deal. I've always, I guess, working for public affairs and crisis communication, we always really start these social media lessons with, this is how real-time marketing works. There's a current or a relevant event that's going on, and it needs to, it kind of like, I don't know, it's something that your brand could speak to. It's something that your brand could have a voice or a perspective on, and you think, hey, maybe we should say something, or maybe we should contribute to this conversation that's happening in the community. And your first question should be, is this relevant for us? Is this something that makes sense for our brand? Because when you consider real-time marketing, from my perspective and my experience, it's not always about the individual anymore. It's definitely about speaking as a brand, and speaking as a brand with a specific goal in mind. The term that's being used right now that most marketers or digital strategists know of and identify the most with is newsjacking. Sometimes newsjacking is probably a better form or a better explanation for real-time marketing, but it's not always the only explanation. Real-time marketing for our clients, for instance, when we're talking about Houston or the Better Make Room campaign, when we're talking about the United States of America, there are issues going on all the time that are relevant. But the question is, do we have a voice in it? Are we offering a solution? Is there something that we can offer outside of what's already been said? Is there something that's going to resonate with our communities? So I think the most important thing about real-time marketing is understanding your audiences. Knowing what other people are talking about is incredibly paramount, but also understanding what your audiences expect of you. And sometimes it's okay to shake it up and to kind of surprise them. But at the same time, the point of real-time marketing is to build brand affinity and to give another way to connect with your communities. And you want to connect with them positively and know that you're supporting them.
You mentioned the Better Make Room campaign. Can you go into a little more detail on that and what that is?
Yeah, if any of you have been to our office lately, you might have noticed we have this massive Better Make Room mural on our chalkboard. Better Make Room is very near and dear to us. So I mentioned earlier that the Black Sheep Agency works with civic entities, for instance, like the City of Houston, but also the White House. And we recently, actually in the past year, have had the opportunity to work with the First Lady's office. And the point of the Better Make Room campaign was to build something that encouraged higher education and encouraged young people, mostly ages 13 to 18, so we're talking Gen Z here, to take that next step towards college and to talk about it. What we discovered in the research, once we realized that this was an issue and that there was something to be done about it, was that these younger people weren't necessarily talking about it, but the millennials were talking about it, other people were talking about it, their peers were talking about it, and they didn't really have a space. They didn't have anywhere to give their voice and to tell people, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about, this is where I want to go, this is where I see myself. So Better Make Room was a brand that we created to give them a space to live and to speak in. It was really fun getting to know Generation Z through the research. There's tons of information that we can share as an agency. So it was definitely huge. It's still going. I don't know if any of you follow Better Make Room, but they're on social media, hashtag Better Make Room. So it's a very proud moment to think about.
I think it cut out for a second. Okay, there you are. So we were talking about Generation Z. I have two brothers. One's a millennial, as am I, and the other is one of them. He's a member of Generation Z, and there is definitely a bit of a difference in how he consumes media and behaviors and things like that.
Yeah.
How do you recommend for marketers to understand and reach this new generation that will be the people that are buying and spending and making decisions very soon?
So the way you phrase that is perfect. They will be buying and making decisions very soon, but they are not currently. They are the snack media kings and queens of the world. They are the ones that know when you're being genuine and they know when you're being fake. They know when they're being sold to, and they know when you're trying to tailor your audiences to them. Oh my gosh, my brain is like flooding with all this research information that we have. I feel like we definitely have blog posts about this and other information out there if you guys are interested in researching it further compared to Better Make Room. It's definitely a challenge that I think a lot of companies and a lot of organizations are going to have just in learning, because they are so different from millennials. But I guess the biggest thing, or the biggest takeaway, is that they are more than anything ready to connect with communities, and they're ready to make a difference together. They're definitely more sentimental. They definitely have a drive to do good things and to make impact. And they're going to, because these guys grew up with iPads in their hands, and it's something that we're going to spend a long time trying to catch up to. But it's a great thing for progress education.
And can you talk a bit about the Vote Houston campaign that you guys worked on, or any other campaigns that you worked on with Black Sheep at a previous job, as well as just other campaigns that you like, that you've seen, that you enjoy, or that you've seen or worked on that you didn't like or that were particularly difficult?
Yeah, so Vote Hue is huge. I don't know if any of you have seen the Vote mural that the Black Sheep Agency headed up. So first and foremost, Houston has an atrocious voter turnout, unfortunately, of 13%. So that is something that is definitely something that we need to change as Houstonians, as community. And voter turnout for across America is actually pretty low, but you have to start somewhere. So Vote Hue was a campaign to drive awareness and to give people more resources and information on how to register, how to vote, because it's really not that hard. It's just the effort and the awareness and the knowledge that that people need. So Vote Hue is also on social media using the hashtag Vote Hue. So tons of great stuff and great conversations going on, and things that matter in the city of Houston that are happening that sometimes you just miss. So that's kind of where all of those things live for Vote Hue. I'm trying to think on other campaigns right now. Let's see. So something that one of the other groups of companies that we work for are for-profit companies. One of the most inspiring campaigns that I've ever worked on, one that I was actually on set, I will never forget it, gave me chills the whole time. I actually probably teared up a few times. We work for Reliant and NRG, and we were able to help them kick off an American Heart Association campaign. And we pulled in Reliant, actually, let me back up. Reliant has a plan that supports the American Heart Association. And of course, that's Black Sheep Agency, because we're cause-driven. That caught our eye, because we would only work for companies that have strong give back programs. And American Heart Association is huge, especially in Texas, and they have many different groups and organizations. But Reliant and the Black Sheep Agency were able to partner with a production team and bring on a few of the Houston American Heart Association kind of like community leaders who have their own personal stories. And we set them up in a studio and let them tell us their story. And Reliant shared it, raised money, had more people sign up for the American Heart Association plan, so that they're donating to the organization. And it was, to this day, still one of the most moving sets that I've ever been able to be a part of. And the social media videos that came out of it were incredible. I will also never forget, Toni Hickman is kind of a local singer, and she also was part of the American Heart Association and had a very moving story. And she sang for us on set, and we were totally unexpecting it, or not expecting it, and we were actually anticipating having to try and help. You know, it's kind of scary to be in front of a camera. It's scary for me to be in front of my own laptop right now on this web chat. So we're like, okay, we're gonna have to, try to help some of these people. It might take a couple of takes. And I kid you not, each and every one of those people got in front of the camera. They had a cause and they had a story and they wanted to share it. They did it. We captured it for social media, and it was incredibly moving and incredibly impactful for the community and for Reliant. So that was for us. We also had a Reliant Gives campaign that supported actually they let their employees, which was really cool, they let their employees kind of do like a voter setting on the organizations in Dallas and Houston and South Texas and a couple of other areas in Texas that they cared about and were important to them, and it impacted them at one point in their life. And we got to run a campaign and tell the stories of all of those nonprofits. And I mean, for Black Sheep, that is, heaven on earth for us, especially on social media, to be able to tell the stories of these nonprofits that are changing lives every single day. So those are a few that I remember.
That's really cool. What would you say about the state of, the state of the social media industry, in terms of, years ago we had MySpace, and now it still exists, but not like it did. And Facebook, people say, is, at some point it won't be around forever. Twitter, there's some upheaval there. What do you think will be next, or what do you think that they may do to become stronger?
It would really, honestly, ideally for me, I wish that, I feel like we're going through a stage where there are many channels and platforms, and we're kind of like gaining in numbers. Like, you get more apps on your phone, and all of a sudden you have Facebook and Messenger and Snapchat and Instagram and Pinterest and all these different things that are running. And what you've also started to notice is that on companies' websites, they now have like 7 or 8 different social media icons instead of like 1 or 2. It would be my hope for the future that these platforms that are capturing mega audiences would find a way to collaborate and not just buy out one another, but it'd be my hope that, I don't know, find a way to do some good with the major, I just keep thinking about the thousands and millions of people, especially with the Pokemon Go surpassing Twitter recently and Tinder at the same time. It'd be really awesome if they could collaborate and work together, give me one app to do lots of different things, and one app to build awesome creative strategies for clients and for their customers or for their clients, that could really make some great impacts. It'd be cool to like have even a social media channel that was all about give back and all about, activating communities somehow. it'd be really great if we could activate communities as quickly as Pokemon Go. And I swore I would not talk about that, but now I've said it 3 times. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm hoping things are going. I'm hoping that those mini 7 or 8 different social media icons on business pages are slowly going to dwindle down. We're going to find those ones that create the most impact and are the most important, and utilize them to their best abilities.
What are some of the, if you've worked on, what makes a good social media campaign? And have you ever worked on any that seemed like they should have been great and for some reason they didn't get quite the traction that you thought, or vice versa, or just know of any?
Let me think. Okay, well, let's start with the first question. To me, what makes a really great social media campaign is the ability to create mini extensions and to have it live on and be applicable and relevant after the campaign really dies, I guess. To be able to start a conversation holistically, to be able to pull in multiple channels and kind of, I don't know, have people rally. That would be the black sheep way of saying it. My in a perfect world strategy for a campaign would be that it lives on and it builds on itself. We have a lot of campaigns that we've built that have many layers, and sometimes we use test, learn, and apply to figure out which layers work and which layers don't. I would love for all campaigns to be able to kick off and for conversations to start organically. That would be my perfect campaign. Right now, trying to think of campaigns that have not quite taken off. I don't know of full campaigns that haven't, but I do know of parts of campaigns that in particular didn't quite work. And we were able to take our test and say, okay, this is why our audience, this piece of content may not have resonated. And it really helps us look at the content that we have moving forward and kind of readjust or make a new strategy for it. Currently, we're running a kind of like a throwback campaign that's really resonated with audiences, and kind of the opposite of what you were saying. It really surprised us because it was, it's kind of like a mini campaign for us, and something that is really meaningful for Texans in particular for this brand. And all of a sudden it just took off like wildfire, and we're like, what is going on? It just struck a chord with our audiences, and it's great for us because we know content is king. So apparently we're doing something right. And then the next post didn't get quite as much traction, and then the third post was almost just as impactful as the first one. So across the board, we were able to look at the campaign itself and say, and this is the voice and this is the perspective that resonates with our audiences.
Do you guys have any kind of events or things that you put on as an agency where you kind of talk to nonprofits or anything like that, or have them?
Yeah. Yes, thanks for asking. We have an event called Cha Cha Cha. It's Champagne Charity Chats. I will not say that 5 times fast because it can't happen. Hold on, I will find you the date for this right now, actually. It's on our Facebook page for sure. But it's a quarterly event that we put on where we invite organizations, charities, nonprofits, for-profits, anybody that wants to come to learn about Houston events. And sorry, I can't multitask. And listen to what their call to actions are, figure out how to get involved. And I think that's really what our goal is. That's really what our goal is as an agency, is to rally people around causes that create impact. So why not, host them for champagne, because everybody knows that's Black Sheep's thing, especially on Fridays after 4. You're invited, whoever you are. So yeah, Cha Cha Cha, you can find it. It's the first thing actually that shows up on our Facebook page. It's pinned to the top. So invite everybody. If you can't come, pass along the news. learn about what's going on in Houston for nonprofits and charity organizations.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. And anyone else who's finds himself in Houston or lives in Houston should just pop by one of those. One last question. What advice could you give for people who are looking to jump into a similar career or increase their skills if they're already in the career?
Good question. I would say find a mentor. Mentors are huge. Find somebody to collaborate with. Start asking the right questions, I guess. Find somebody that does do what you want, and I promise you we are all about trying to give you all those things that might have been really hard for us to find out in the beginning. And if I don't know, or if somebody like me doesn't know, we're going to figure it out together, because we're problem solvers. We're strategists in social media, and we're trying to constantly solve problems and solve for success and solve for impact. So definitely find somebody, connect with them, collaborate. We learn from each other all the time. There are tons of free resources. I mentioned earlier that I use HubSpot all the time. They have a great blog. They have great free resources that you can turn to. My dad is right now watching this. Let me see. Trying to think of other resources off the top of my head. Definitely just I guess one of the biggest ways that I learned that there are some really innovative things that you can do in social media is following brands that are really active on social media, because most of those brands have some experience, or they have an agency behind them, or they have somebody in-house that really knows what they're doing. And they're creating conversations that matter and are resonating. So find those brands, watch what they're doing, find those organizations, talk to people, collaborate, get involved, and you'll be surprised how much you learn.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for your time and all your insights. It's been wonderful. I'm Garrett Ruffner, the president of Ad2 Houston, and my guest is Brittany Wegner, the digital media strategist with the Black Sheep Agency. Thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Yeah, thank you.